Hello everybody, Perco here with this week's pontification, and if you were watching last week you'll know it's about fertility, specifically fertility of soil. Now the soil I'm specifically talking about is topsoil. Ordinary soil is made up of sand, silt and clay. Now silt can be pretty productive when it comes to growing, but sand and clay are pretty useless. There's no nutrients in it whatsoever. One of the things that anybody who's been listening to me for a while knows, I like to go on road trips. And this particular road trip I was on took me about, well, I guess I was away for about 9 months, but that's not the point. I went from New York City out to Iowa. The reason being, a friend of mine at the time was chasing his girlfriend. So that's where she lived, Iowa. So that's where we went and stayed. We were living in this house just south of Cedar Rapids. And I got chatting to the farmer one day, and he was talking about the topsoil on his farm. And he was telling me that around the beginning of the 20th century, there was about an average of 6 foot of topsoil across the whole state. Obviously, some places had more of it than others. And it was there thanks to the Ice Age, which had retreated. But while it was there, over that particular piece of land, it crushed all the vegetation and it turned into topsoil. So what is topsoil? Topsoil, if once you've got your sand, silt and clay, what topsoil is air, water and organic matter. And these are very important component parts, because if your soil doesn't have these things, then you have some serious problems. Problems are, if you don't have the air gaps, then the ground can't absorb moisture when it rains. So what happens is you have the problem, you have these big heavy machines with big fat tires that roll around these acres of ground, and they crush it. They squeeze out all the air pockets. What does that do? Well, it means that the water has got nowhere to go. So what it does is when it rains, it skids off looking for the nearest ditch, taking a whole lot of topsoil with it. Another reason that the topsoil is disappearing is because one of their main crops in that part of the world are grass sods. If anyone doesn't know what a grass sod is, if you've ever bought a brand new house, that's what they do. You've got the ground, and then they come in and they buy these, look like carpet tiles of grass. Now, the way they grow them in Iowa, out in the fields, is they would throw out a bunch of grass seeds and they'd mow it until it got nice and healthy. And they'd come along with a machine that would cut off about 1 inch to 2 inches of soil. And of course, they'd do this every, 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 times a year. And then they would take those carpet tiles, if you like to call them that, and out to Chicago or Des Moines or wherever, and sell them to the suburbs, which of course in that time of the year, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, were expanding. And this is where they got their nice lawns from. But what that meant was it took a lot of the topsoil away from the state of Iowa. So what have they got left now in Iowa in the way of topsoil? Not a lot. And what they've got is a lot of it is devoid of air and water. So what does that mean? Well, it means they've now commercialized growing food using fertilizer made out of chemicals, pesticides and herbicides. Because what was happening was they were growing weak plants, and there's nothing an insect likes more than eating a weak plant, because without going too deep down this rabbit hole, the whole point of an insect is to recycle dead or dying material, whether it's plant life or animal life. And then you've got weeds, of course. Well, you can't have weeds, so they throw weed killer there. And you've got to wonder, what is it, or how is it that this particular substance can kill off a weed, but it doesn't bother what plants that you're eating? Got to wonder what's in it. So there's another factor. We've got a whole lot of people now, although they're living longer, they're living a lot sicker. I dare you to find anyone over 60 who isn't taking chemical medicines for something. There's a lot of people doing that. Of course, I'm not one of them, but I'm sure you know lots of people who are doing that. Anyway, that's my subject for the week. I will be here next week. So, from me, ta-da from now.